Dragon Ball, I Am One Punch Man. Chapter 66. Is this the time machine that Trunks drives in the future? Chi-Yu looked at the spaceship that suddenly appeared, and immediately recognized it. At any rate, he had watched the original work of Dragon Ball Super, although the time was a little bit earlier. But he also knew that it must be the Trunks from the future. But when everyone approached the spaceship, Chi-Yu's expression suddenly changed. Trunks is indeed in that spaceship, but besides Trunks, there is actually another person in that spaceship, Zamasu. Logically speaking, Zamasu should be the boss of this story. How could he appear here with Trunks? This is simply an impossible thing. Chi-Yu was a little confused for a moment. At this time, Zamasu and Trunks were covered in bruises and fell into a coma. Bulma immediately shouted, "It's Trunks. Get them out quickly. Goku, go to Galen Tower and bring some fairy beans." Everyone hurriedly opened the lid of the spaceship and lifted the two wounded patients out. Goku gave an instant transmission, and quickly brought the fairy beans. Fairy bean is a special product in the world of Dragon Ball. Taking one cannot eat or drink for 3 days, and heal all injuries. After eating the fairy beans, the complexions of Zamasu and Trunks quickly improved, and the wounds on their bodies disappeared quickly. The two gradually woke up. Trunks, however, did not attack Son Goku as in the original show. Instead, he rushed towards Chi-Yu with Zamasu. "Big Devil in Black, you fool. So you are here, I want to kill you." The two yelled at the same time, and then challenged Chi-Yu. However, Zamasu and Trunks are not even as good as Son Goku. And how is Chi-Yu's opponent? Clap. Chi-Yu stretched out his hands and easily held the fists of the two. No matter how hard Zamasu and Trunks struggled, they could not escape Yao's grasp. "What are you attacking me for?" The development of the matter was completely beyond Chi-Yu's expectation. Why did the two suddenly attack themselves? Could it be that the future Zamasu wished for his own body? No, impossible. As soon as this idea came out of Chi-Yu's mind, he completely denied it. Super Shenron can't even grow his own hair, so how can he tamper with his own soul? That being the case, why did Trunks challenge himself? Why is Zamasu with him? Why Zamasu and Trunks, who were originally villains, fought side by side like close comrades in arms? Everything is a mystery. At this time, Vegeta suddenly yelled, "Trunks, look where you are. Calm down." Hear Father Vegeta's scolding. Trunks was frightened and alert, and only relaxed after looking around. Zamasu looked at Beerus and the old Supreme Kai behind him in surprise. He was very shocked and said, "Gods of Destruction Beerus and Supreme Kaixin. You are still alive. Is this the past?" Hear Zamasu's words. The faces of Beerus and Kaiwang Shendu changed drastically. Gods of Destruction and Supreme Kai are the managers of this universe, and they are very sensitive to things like manipulating time. These two guys are obviously from the future, and from their words, the two gods got a message. That is in the far future, they are dead. Chi-Yu frowned, and said slowly, "Calm down, tell us, what happened in the future?" As such that, both Trunks and Zamasu looked at Chi-Yu in awe, and then began to tell the story of what happened in the future. At the beginning, it was the same as the original plot. Zamasu has evil thoughts in his heart and wants to destroy all human beings. So he killed the Supreme Kai of the 10th universe, took the second ring of Supreme Kai and the Time Ring, and found the Super Dragon Ball to make a wish. The Super Dragon Ball successfully summoned Shenron, but failed to fulfill Zamasu's wish. Immediately afterwards, a monster who looked exactly like Chi-Yu appeared. He killed and destroyed crazily, and even attacked the Gods of Destruction planet where Beerus was located alone, setting off an unprecedented bloody storm. Countless galaxies were reduced to ashes in this disaster, and even Beerus and others died in battle. Wait, Chi-Yu stopped Zamasu's narration and asked, "You mean that Super Shenron didn't fulfill your wish?" Zamasu said in horror, "I don't understand what happened. Shenron asked me to make a wish, and then the monster who looked like you appeared. I'm sorry, I know I did a lot of stupid things before, but now I know I was wrong." Trunks comforted, "Zamasu, you have been working hard to eliminate the dark people for these years, we all forgive you long ago." Immediately afterwards, Trunks continued to tell everyone what happened to the future world. After making a wish to Shenron, Zamasu, who wished to wipe out humanity, found himself causing havoc. This catastrophe will wipe out not only humans, but all universes and gods. At that time, Zamasu realized that he had made a big mistake and began to work hard to restore everything. He fought side by side with Trunks, and gradually understood human beings, and became a good person. Wait, stop it for me. Are you saying that the future me is destroying all universes? Hearing the narration of the two, Chiyu was in a bad mood. Zamasu has become Nuo Qian Zhao, the warrior of love and justice, and he himself is the great demon king who destroys the world. What kind of plot is this? I am afraid it is not a fake Dragon Ball. At this time, Trunks released even more explosive news. Of course that person is not you, Chiyu uncle. After a few years of marriage to Tazy aunt, you traveled to other universes. In fact, we have been looking for you, maybe only you can defeat that monster. Chiyu pointed to Tazy, who was not knowing what she was having fun with, and then pointed to her own face and said, "You mean I married her? She is my future wife." In the end, everyone still has a general understanding of what will happen in the future world. After the dark man who looked the same as Chiyu appeared, he began to frantically destroy all galaxies. Even, attack gods like gods of destruction Beerus and Supreme Kai. Even the mighty Beerus couldn't stop the dark man, so everyone came up with a way. It is to use the magic seal wave to seal the dark man to delay time, and then send people to the past world to find the real Chiyu. Trunks said. Whis used all his power to make a container to temporarily seal the dark man. Let me order Zamasu and I to come and find you. Master Whis said that only you can defeat the dark man. Beerus and the others are because of the magic seal bow, died after exhausting his strength. It's a mess, it's a mess, it's a mess. Beerus turned out to be a hero who sacrificed himself to launch the magic seal wave just like Wu Tian teacher. But he himself became the super villain, the world destroyer demon king. No matter how Chiyu thought about it, he felt that it was against harmony. Chiyu covered his head and said, "Then why don't you just go find me in the future world?" Trunks said, "Listen to Master Beerus, you have surpassed the boundaries of time and space, and went to a world that he doesn't even know. Even he and Master Whis can't find you." 1. At this time, Zamasu jumped out and added, "The time ring cannot bring two people back to the past, so we used Boomer to make 803's time machine." Chiyu covered his head and said, "That's enough, don't talk anymore, I want to be quiet. Also, don't ask me who Jing Jing is." Beerus patted him on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry, we all know that the person in the future is definitely not you. If you want to destroy all the universes, you only need one punch to solve it, and it shouldn't be so troublesome. The time machine can take you back to the time when Xenotrunks and Zamasu just set off, so there is no rush to go to the future to save the world. Before that, Chiyu must understand what happened to cause the current consequences. Predictably, the problem must be with Super Shenron, but he doesn't understand what's going on. A large amount of information was poured into his brain, and now he is completely dazed." Bulma clapped his hands and said, "Trunks and the others need to rest after recovering from a serious illness, and everyone has just finished the tournament and is very tired. I have prepared a room for everyone, we can rest for 2 days, and wait until things are sorted out the cause and effect of the situation before deciding what to do." After such a commotion, everyone lost interest in holding a celebration banquet. As it got late, Chiyu sat on the balcony alone in a daze. Everything that happened during the day was really unimaginable. I'm afraid I never dreamed that I would bring such a big change to the world of Dragon Ball. At this moment, there was a knock on the door outside the room. "Who is it?" Ties. Chiyu turned to open the door, and saw Tazy wearing a long black dress, standing timidly at the door. The well-cut fabric was attached to her body, outlining her hot curves. In the original work, the adult Ties always looks like a capable young woman, but she seldom wears such feminine clothes. It seems that she herself is a little uncomfortable with this suit, and she looks a little restrained. For this, future wife, Chiyu doesn't know what kind of mentality he has. To be honest, if you want to get married, Tazy is definitely the best candidate. With such a wife, I can be like the tragedy tower, just eat soft rice and wait to die. Moreover, Tazy is prettier, has a better figure, and is more gentle and considerate than Bulma. No matter how you calculate it, this is a profitable business. However, a wife suddenly appeared, and anyone would feel a little uncomfortable. May I come in? Certainly. Tazy sat down on the edge of Chi-Yu's bed, her face flushed. After a long time, she finally managed to say, "You know, I've never had a boyfriend because of work. So I'm a little nervous." "Do you want to be so direct?" "I am more nervous than you, fool. You really believe what Trunks says? I mean, we're going to get married." CCCB. Tazy nodded and said, "Actually, I don't hate. I mean, I like it very much." In the end, Tazy's voice became smaller and smaller, almost hard to hear. This royal lady is shy like a ripe fruit, with both a mature charm and a tantalizing simplicity, which makes Chi-Yu feel distracted. Chi-Yu coughed twice before hesitating. "Then why don't we try it first?" This. My mind is even more confused. "Then I'll come see you tomorrow." "Okay." After all, Tazy ran out of Chi-Yu's room, yelling while running, "Bulma! I succeeded! I succeeded!" Hearing Tazy's cheers, Chi-Yu laughed. For now, though, he just wants to go to bed. Universe is facing a huge crisis. But Chi-Yu is busy talking about her first love in her life. Save the whole universe. Go, go, go. I have to go shopping with Tazy this afternoon, you go find someone else. The guy over there is called Son Goku, he can fight thieves, he can definitely do it. If it's not enough, he also has a friend called the Tower of Tragedy. Why are you two here again? The Tower of Tragedy and Son Goku can't do it. Then you wait for me for a few days. Tazy and I are planning to go on a trip. I said, why are you two so ignorant? If you come here to disrupt the situation again, I'm going to beat you up. In the next few days, the relationship between Chi-Yu and Tazy quickly entered the honeymoon period. It was the first time for both of them to fall in love, and they devoted themselves wholeheartedly to it, and their lives were very nourishing. This was a pain for Trunks and Zamasu, who came to ask for help. They hugged Bulma's thigh with bruised noses and pleaded bitterly. "Mom, think of a way. If this continues, Chi-Yu uncle will forget about saving the universe. Ms. Bulma, please help us, otherwise the future world will be over." Chi-Yu doesn't like others to judge her life. But in the case of Tazy, he also had to admit that sometimes the god of fate has good intentions. At sunset, Tazy climbed ashore from the sea in a swimsuit, holding a big crab in her hand. She smiled at Chi-Yu, showing her white teeth, and the setting sun reflected bright colors on her delicate skin, making her look even more eye-catching. Chi-Yu suddenly felt that if there was anything best in the world, nothing could be better than this time. So he stood up from the beach, picked her up, and rushed into the sea again. At some point, the first star appeared in the sky. The night is not yet deep, and the warm Yifeng is like a lover's caress, expressing some kind of gentle relief with silence. Tired from playing, Tazy and Chi-Yu lay on the beach together, breathed in the sea breeze, and then complained, "Bad guy, that's the crab I managed to catch. I'll go into the sea to get you a bigger one later." "How big is it? As big as a table, or as big as a car?" "Chi-Yu, do you think we will really be a couple as Trunks said?" "Please, I've answered this question for you 4 to 19 times. For several days, Chi-Yu stayed with Tai all the time. Tazy, who wanders in the galaxy, always has countless new experiences, and staying with her never seems to be boring. Underneath the mature appearance, Tazy is a lively and active little girl with an extraordinary curiosity about novel things. For such a wife-to-be, Chi-Yu is quite satisfied. If possible, he would like to enjoy this time quietly with Tais. But the problem is, there are always some ignorant people. "Wait, I'm going to the bathroom." Chi-Yu stood up from the beach. Then he left Tazy and walked slowly to a pile of lush grass. His face darkened instantly, and he said in a painful tone, "Don't you know that the saline alkali land by the sea doesn't grow grass?" There was a crack in the grass, and several heads of different shapes were exposed. Zamasu stammered, We were just passing by." Chi-Yu snapped his fingers, and the joints made a crisp sound like frying beans. Trunks' complexion changed drastically. "We just came to see how you and Tai's aunt are doing, don't worry. I want to ask you when you will go to the future to eliminate the dark people." Boom. After a loud bang, the world returned to tranquility again. Tazy looked at the twinkling meteors in the sky, shook her head and smiled wryly, This kind of scene would happen almost every few hours, and she was no stranger to it. Chi-Yu returned to the beach again, and said, "It's really annoying, are these people Team Rocket? No matter how far they fly, they can always come back." What is Team Rocket? A group of people who are good at turning into meteors. Sometimes, some strange words would come out of Chi-Yu's mouth, but Tazy didn't mind either. After a little hesitation, Tazy said, "Why don't you tell them not to go?" Tazy didn't know how powerful that dark man was. But since all gods of destruction can be eliminated, it must not be a simple character. What happened in the other parallel world has nothing to do with them. Although it is a bit selfish to think this way, Tazy doesn't want to watch Chi-Yu take risks. Chi-Yu also knew that Tazy was concerned about him, but he had to fight this battle. He snorted coldly and said, "That's not acceptable. I would be upset if anyone imitated my hairstyle, not to mention that dark man looks exactly like me. Don't worry, I'm not that weak." Beerus analyzed before that the Super Dragon Ball can't even help Chi-Yu grow hair, let alone be able to copy Chi-Yu's body. Most likely, that dark man should be an incomplete copy of Chi-Yu. Otherwise, as long as the Liberation Force punches, all universes will disappear, and it is even less likely to be sealed by Beerus and others. Then you must come back. Of course, I will come back safe and sound, so don't worry. Chi-Yu looked at the brilliant starry sky and made a promise. Time to meet the Dark One. Early the next morning, Chi-Yu found Beerus and others. The group of people had been waiting for a long time, and Vegeta, who was already impatient, saw the squeeze. He couldn't help being angry and said, "What are you doing? We've been waiting for you for half a month." Chi-Yu waved his hand and said, "Don't be so angry, Tragic Tower, you will be my brother-in-law from now on. Don't call me Tragedy Tower." Vegeta blushed and retorted thickly, but he knew that his protest was of no use to Chi-Yu. "Okay, Tower of Tragedy." Chi-Yu turned to look at Beerus and said, "Beerus, what are your plans?" Beerus said, "We have to figure out the cause and effect of the matter first. Before dealing with the Dark Man, we must go to the 10th universe. Zamasu is the backup Supreme Kai of the 10th universe, so it can be inferred that everything should start from the 10th universe. If you can figure out the true identity of the Dark Man, then things will be much easier." Even Chi-Yu himself wondered how Zamasu, who was supposed to make a wish to Shenron and swap bodies with Son Goku, would come up with a new bald-headed devil. That guy must have never seen himself. Could it be that Chi-Yu's name has already resounded in all universes? Chi-Yu couldn't figure out why even though he was thinking hard. Everyone is ready to go, except the future Zamasu who is left at Bulma's house. Because the 10th universe already has a Zamasu, and when two Zamasu meet, things may change unexpectedly, and they dare not try rashly. To prevent this, Zamasu could only stay in the 7th universe. Okay, let's get ready to go. Whis Kane can travel through universes. Half an hour later, Chi-Yu, Goku, Vegeta, Beerus Master and Servant and others were in the God Realm. The Zamasu of this era is making tea for the old Supreme Kai. Zamasu, only the tea made by an intern Supreme Kai with a pure heart will not have a strange smell. You have been disturbed recently. The old Supreme Kai took a sip of the tea made by Zamasu and frowned. Yes, teacher. Zamasu was indeed distracted. The old Supreme Kai asked him to observe the primitive people on the barren planet. After observing for many years, he found that those barbarians were still barbarians after their evolution. This caused Zamasu to have a disgust and a strong desire to kill such lowly creatures as mortals. They can only consume energy, only fight and kill, they can't make any contribution to the universe at all, they must all be extinct. Just when the old Supreme Kai still wanted to dissuade Zamasu, suddenly a rainbow light appeared in their yard. "Master Beerus, why did you come to the 10th universe?" After meeting Beerus, the old Supreme Kai kindly began to say hello. Zamasu beside Beerus glanced at Chi-Yu and the others behind Beerus, with undisguised hatred and resentment in his eyes. Beerus took a deep look at Zamasu, then pointed at Zamasu and asked Supreme Kai, "Who is he?" Finding out what happened to Zamasu was what Beerus was here for. The old Supreme Kai introduced to Beerus, "This is my disciple, and I am investigating whether he is eligible to become the next Supreme Kai of the 10th universe." So Zamasu is the next Supreme Kai. Having been with the future Zamasu for so long, Son Goku never expected that Zamasu's background would be so big. So he committed the old martial idiot again, ran up and begged Zamasu to compete with himself. Chiyu saw all this, but he didn't stop it. According to the original plot, Son Goku should defeat Zamasu here, and then Zamasu had the idea of getting Son Goku's body. If I do nothing, will the plot be back on track? Anyway, Zamasu is much easier to deal with than his own clone. Beerus exchanged a few words with Supreme Kai from 10th Universe, and then said, since Goku asks so, let them compete. For Beerus's request, Supreme Kai was not easy to refuse, so he turned to Zamasu and said, be careful when you start, otherwise, 720 will hurt people. Zamasu hated humans very much, and thought that competing with humans was completely dirty his hands, but out of respect for the old Supreme Kai, he finally accepted. He looked at Goku and said, are you the strongest mortal in the 7th universe? I want to teach you that no mortal can be a god's opponent no matter what. Son Goku patted his head, pointed at Chi-Yu and said embarrassedly, actually, in our universe, I'm not the strongest. The bald man over there is the strongest in the 7th universe. Zamasu snorted coldly, then looked at Beerus and said, shouldn't the strongest warrior be dispatched to fight a god? See Zamasu's reaction. Only then did Chi-Yu understand that history has changed in this way. The future Zamasu probably met himself here back then, and after being defeated by him, he came up with the idea of asking Shi Shenron to make a wish for an extremely powerful physical body. Zamasu wants to get a body that is strong enough, and Son Goku's casual words have provided him with a better choice. Beerus looked at Chi-Yu, asking for his opinion. Chi-Yu sighed, knowing that the future would not change after all. He said, if this is the case, then let me do it. Beerus said, then trouble you. Chi-Yu nodded and held over the payment. And Zamasu is with his hands behind his back, full of Supreme Kai style. For mortals, he has the right to be proud. Really, the opponent who finally came was snatched by the bald devil again. Son Goku complained a few words, but didn't mean to push in. People in the upper realm are born with huge energy in their bodies. According to common sense, no matter how hard they try, it is difficult to reach their realm. Zamasu hates mortals and thinks mortals are barbaric and lowly, so he despises mortals in various ways and does not think that mortals have the qualifications to shake him as Novice Supreme Kai. He is the most outstanding Novice Supreme Kai in the 10th universe. Not to mention, this bald mortal looks ugly, his walking posture is also loose, and his whole body is full of flaws. The most important thing is that he is still wearing a Hawaiian shirt and flip-flops. Who has ever seen a martial artist who is wearing slippers and fighting with others? Zamasu of this era sarcastically said, it seems that the 7th universe is a bunch of trash, and a guy like you is actually the strongest in the 7th universe. Chi-Yu was too lazy to talk nonsense with him, and just stood still in front of him. Ma Si arrogantly stretched out a finger, flicked it on Chi-Yu's head and said, go away. Dead bald head. After a crisp snap, Chi-Yu touched his forehead, what are you doing? Zamasu was taken aback, in his imagination, Chi-Yu should be blown away by this finger. Although I didn't use much strength for this blow, ordinary mortals would definitely not be able to bear it. Beerus and the others couldn't bear it any longer, pointing at Zamasu and laughing loudly. He actually flicked the forehead of the bald devil. Did he think he could defeat Chi-Yu? This Zamasu is so much fun. Look at his expression, he's so cute and silly, he doesn't know what kind of opponent he's facing. Zamasu was angry, he snorted, then looked at Chi-Yu and said, I must admit that I underestimated you, but mortal, you really pissed me off. Zamasu never expected that he would make a fool of himself in front of a group of mortals. Forget about Beerus, the two mortals behind him, those two despicable universe parasites, were laughing at him. An angry flame burned in Zamasu's chest, he condensed his hands into a knife, and a light purple blade appeared in Zamasu's hand. This is Zamasu's stunt. Seeing this scene, the old Supreme Kai couldn't help shouting, Zamasu, don't kill. Beerus patted the old Supreme Kai on the shoulder and said, don't worry. Don't worry, Chi-Yu won't be hurt by such an attack. Old Supreme Kai, but. Beerus said, just watch. Zamasu yelled, and then stabbed Chi-Yu's stomach with 10 knives. The powerful energy collided with Chiyu's body, setting off a powerful explosion, but Zamasu's blow did not have the expected effect. The smoke and dust dissipated, Chiyu was still standing there, not even his clothes were dirty. Chiyu looked at the sluggish Zamasu, and repeated the previous sentence, "What are you doing?" Yes, what are you doing? After coming to this world, this jade has faced many opponents. Whether it is Majin Buu or Golden Frieza, they are far 100 times stronger than Zamasu. Even Dapper Zamasu, who is the weakest, may not be an opponent. In Chiyu's eyes, Zamasu's hand knife is not so much an attack as a child's play. That's why he asked Zamasu, "What on earth are you doing?" Ah! Zamasu's hand seemed to have touched indestructible steel, the 2 fingers at the front had been broken, and the pain made him break out in cold sweat. The old Supreme Kai took a deep breath before saying to Beerus, "Master Beerus, your warrior is really too powerful." Beerus said, "He doesn't belong to my warrior, and I can't actually order him. Chiyu's coming here is his own choice. Gods of Destruction is supreme in every universe. When did someone dare to disobey Gods of Destruction appear in the 7th universe 4.9. Beerus's character is notoriously bad in all Gods of Destruction, why would he let this bald man disobey his orders?" The old Supreme Kai gave Beerus a suspicious look, and then wisely chose to remain silent. At the moment Zamasu has not given up. Zamasu let out a loud roar, then activated the hand knife with both hands, and greeted Chiyu for the first time in a row. "How is that possible? I am the future Supreme Kai. Go to hell. Go to hell. You mortal, die for me." Zamasu launched a crazy attack on Chiyu, and the sound of explosions came one after another, blowing up the courtyard where Supreme Kai lived. It took a long time before Zamasu stopped. At this time, all the fingers of his hands were broken, and fresh red blood was flowing. "Is this what you call an attack? I'm so disappointed." Chiyu raised his hand, stretched out 2 fingers to Zamasu's forehead, and flicked it lightly. This action is exactly the same as Zamasu's before, but it has a completely different effect. I saw Zamasu's body flying upside down, plowing a deep ravine on the ground, and he didn't know how far he rushed before stopping. Zamasu. The old Supreme Kai hurriedly came to Zamasu, checked his injuries, and said to Chiyu, "Thank you for your mercy, he has completely lost consciousness. If there is nothing wrong, please leave here." As the Supreme Kai of the 10th universe, Beerus brought people here and severely injured his apprentice. Even Supreme Kai, who has a good temper, is more or less unhappy in his heart. "Then we shall take our leave." Chiyu winked at Beerus, and Beerus nodded. Then, Whis used the cane to transfer the 4 of them into the void. Chiyu said, "The next step is to wait, let's take a look here and roughly understand what happened." Not surprisingly, Zamasu should kill the old Supreme Kai and take the space-time ring. The death of the old Supreme Kai has nothing to do with the 7th universe, the big deal is that he can be resurrected with the Dragon Ball. What Chiyu wants to know is what happened when Marth made his offer to Super Shenron. Vegeta clasped his hands and said, "Why are you in such trouble? What a dark man. I, Vegeta Doll, will definitely be able to defeat him." Beerus glanced at Chiyu, and then said to Vegeta, "Stop talking big, that dark man is probably a copy of Chiyu, even if it's not in full form, you are definitely not an opponent." Vegeta was extremely embarrassed by Beerus's preemption, but he also had to admit that there was indeed a big gap between himself and Chiyu. Vegeta snorted coldly, then stopped talking. Through Whis cane, Yinjia watched the old Supreme Kai and Zamasu intently. The old Supreme Kai didn't know that Zamasu had evil intentions, and he didn't have the slightest defense against his disciples. So, after the old Supreme Kai woke up Zamasu, he started a long speech again, scolding and teaching Zamasu, blaming him for not attacking humans, let alone with murderous intent. These are not things that a Supreme Kai can do. After being humiliated by Chiyu, Zamasu is already furious and can't wait to implement his plan. How can he listen to the nagging of old Supreme Kai? His heart was already boiling with killing intent. He first pretended to help Supreme Kai make tea, then walked around behind him, and stabbed Supreme Kai's back vest with a hand knife. The old Supreme Kai turned his head in disbelief and looked at his disciple, Zamasu. Your time is over, rest in peace Supreme Kai. Zamasu pulled the hand knife from the back of the old Supreme Kai, who fell heavily in a pool of blood, dying with regret. Immediately afterwards, Zamasu leaned down, took off Supreme Kai's second ring, and took the time ring. Zamasu. Seeing the old Supreme Kai killed, Son Goku flew into a rage. Chi-Yu said, "Hurry up, everyone, Zamasu is going to use the time ring." Zamasu, who received the inheritance of Supreme Kai, had a sinister smile on his face. Immediately afterwards, he used the time ring to open a time tunnel in the void, and jumped into it. Chi-Yu and the others also followed him and rushed into the time rift. Son Goku and others jumped out of the time rift and found themselves in the void. Chi-Yu turned to Whis and asked, "Can you confirm the time now?" The angels are the managers of time and space. Even if they don't use the time ring, Whis can travel freely in time. Determining the current age is a piece of cake for Whis. He took out his wand, and then carefully looked at the crystal on the wand. It is now a year later. The use of Dragon Ball needs a 1-year cooling time. It seems that the purpose of Zamasu's trip is indeed to Super Dragon Ball. Vegeta understood immediately and took out the Super Dragon Ball radar made by Bulma. Not good, the 7 Super Dragon Balls are right in front of them, and they have been assembled. Zamasu does not have a Dragon Ball radar, but since the last wish, 7 Super Dragon Balls have stayed at the venue of the tournament. Chi-Yu said, "How could this be? Shouldn't the Dragon Ball disperse after making a wish?" Whis said, "Super Dragon Balls are different from ordinary Dragon Balls. They are large celestial bodies. Because of gravity, they will be firmly glued together. Even if you make a wish. Nor will it scatter." Quote. Chi-Yu said, "Then let's go there quickly." Whis waved his wand, and everyone turned into a stream of light, rushing towards the Super Dragon Ball. At this moment, a majestic figure emerged from the end of the starry sky. It was Super Shenron. Different from the past, Super Shenron's eyes looked eerie and evil in a black light. It said to Zamasu below in the language of God, "Please state your wish." Zamasu instinctively felt that something was wrong with the Super Shenron in front of him. It seemed very evil. "But I finally came here, and it is absolutely impossible to give up." After a moment of hesitation, he opened his hands and said, "Please let Chi-Yu and I switch bodies." "I cannot do it." "What did you say?" "The energy in Chi-Yu's body is too huge, I can't move such a large amount of energy, but—" Super Shenron grinned, and said to Zamasu 940 in a bewitching voice, "Maybe you can change your wish, such as creating another incomplete Chi-Yu, a Chi-Yu with the same ideals and goals as you. I can do that. Help you finish." Hearing Super Shenron's proposal, Zamasu, who was extremely disappointed, was shocked, and then said, "Okay, just do as you said." The evil Super Shenron opened his mouth and said, "I have to thank you, ignorant young Supreme Kai." A bad premonition rose from Zamasu's heart, his body backed away slightly. What are you talking about? Aren't you the Shenron who can grant all wishes?" "Yes, I fulfilled your wish. Let me turn into another Chi-Yu and help you destroy all human beings. Of course, I also brought all the universes with me." Shenron let out a wild laugh, its huge body bloomed with the brilliance of gold, and then gradually shrunk. The light gradually faded, and a brand new human body appeared in the void. Strong 8-pack abs, a strong and powerful torso, and a smooth and shiny head. Zamasu yelled, "No, that's not my wish. I just want to destroy human beings. Sorry, but the wish you have already made cannot be changed." The dark Chi-Yu transformed by Shenron appeared in front of Zamasu in an instant, and then gently waved his arms. Rumble. Zamasu wanted to resist, but the huge force from his hand made him unable to resist at all, and he passed out on the spot. Evil Shenron looked at his hands and couldn't help sighing, "It's really incredible power, even Supreme Kai can't stop my casual blow." After all, he came to the unconscious Zamasu, took off his Supreme Kai earrings and time ring, and put them on himself. "I knew it, you must be playing tricks." At this time, Chi-Yu and others had already arrived. Whis said, "Huo." Unexpectedly, the Dark Man turned out to be the incarnation of Super Shenron. "You twisted Zamasu's wish to actually fulfill your own wish." The Super Shenron who has turned into a Dark Man pointed at Chi-Yu and said, "If you want to blame this earthling. My existence is higher than God's, but this stupid mortal dares to attack me and kill me." Chi-Yu sneered, "So you want revenge? Didn't expect Super Shenron to be so stingy." The matter of Chi-Yu killing it a year ago is still remembered. Although the ability is much stronger, there is no difference between Super Shenron and Earth Shenron in essence. Fulfilling other people's wishes is the Super Shenron's only ability, so it misinterprets Zamasu's wishes and turns itself into a Chi-Yu clone. All this is just to get revenge on Chi-Yu. The Dark Man said, "You mortals dare to challenge the majesty of the Super Shenron and even offend me. I will make you suffer the most terrible torture in the world. I will kill everyone you love and destroy all the worlds. Chi-Yu, I want you to pay a terrible price for what you did." Ha ha ha. Chi-Yu, the Dark Man transformed into the evil Shenron, let out piercing laughter. "You pervert who runs around naked with someone else's body. I'll kill you first." Chi-Yu snorted coldly. He squeezed his fist, broke away from Whis' circle of light in an instant, and swooped towards the Ultra-Dark Man. Unlike Vegeta and others, Chi-Yu once made a wish to the Earth Shenron to obtain the ability to breathe freely in the universe. Even without Whis Kane, he can still fight in the universe. People will always be disgusted with guys who imitate themselves, not to mention this guy in front of him copied himself from head to toe, and used his body to run naked in the universe. So Chi-Yu was furious. Serious fist. Pipe pipe exclamation mark quote. When Chi-Yu punched, the Dark Man also imitated Chi-Yu's movements and used the same moves as him. The collision of the two fists immediately caused an uproar in the void, like a star exploding. Whis struggled to support the protective cover, and then managed to resist the impact. After a long time, the shock wave gradually dissipated, and I saw two Chi-Yu's fists pressing together, and lightning burst out continuously at the full contact. Whis wiped his sweat and said, "It's a terrible attack. I can't imagine that Chi-Yu's strength has reached this level." Beerus in the mask stared at the battlefield with his hands behind his back. This is just the beginning. Beerus, who had fought against Chi-Yu before, knew best that even if he didn't use the Chi in his body, the power of the Bald Demon King was more than just that. Vegeta was shocked. "Isn't this Chi-Yu's full strength?" Beerus nodded, and at this moment, Chi-Yu flew back and raised both hands at the same time. Million series, continuous serious punches. Chi-Yu turned into phantoms all over the sky, and then rushed to hit the Dark Man in front of him. Every blow is extremely heavy, and every blow is full of killing intent. The Dark Man who just got this body seems to have not yet adapted to the powerful power of this body, and he can only hug the front door to defend between warehouses. The fists kept bombarding his body like a dense barrage, getting faster and heavier. Gradually, scars appeared on the Dark Man's body, and drops of blood overflowed from the surface of the skin, floating in the void. At this time, Whis' protective cover was already full of cracks, but the violent shock continued to wave after wave, as if it would never stop. "Master Beerus, I can't hold it anymore." Beerus yelled, "Everyone, gather your energy and don't let the shield shatter." Even with the power of a god, Son Goku and Vegeta are essentially human and cannot survive in the void. If there is no oxygen in the protective cover, it will not be long before the two of them will die. Hearing Beerus's order, Son Goku and Vegeta turned into Super Blue forms at the same time, allowing them to resist the turbulent impact with their own energy. Roar! Chi-Yu let out a roar, and the strength in his hand increased again. The defense of the four of Beerus was like a boat in a storm, crumbling and likely to disintegrate at any time. The explosion flickered in the dark rain like a solar flare, blinding the eyes. I don't know how long it took before the impact gradually subsided, and the figures of Chi-Yu and the Dark Man reappeared in the void. The Dark Man was already scarred, but he let out a wild laugh, and then slowly put down his hands, showing an evil smile. "Chi-Yu, don't you even know your own strength? It is impossible for such an attack to defeat me." He clenched his fists, then looked at his perfect body and said, "It's really a terrifying body, even such an attack can only cause a little scratch." Son Goku, who was watching the battle, exclaimed, "How is it possible? Such an attack has no effect. Isn't even Chi-Yu his opponent?" Beerus shook his head and said, "Even a Super Shenron can't really copy Chi-Yu's power. What the Dark Man has obtained is only a small part of Chi-Yu's ability. In fact, it is very easy for Chi-Yu to kill the Dark Man." Vegeta said, "Then why didn't Chi-Yu do this?" Beerus stared and said, "It's not that he can't, but he dares not to live without money." Vegeta snorted and said, "What do you mean by not daring? The enemy is right in front of his eyes. What is the bald demon king worried about?" Beerus said, "He is afraid that his too strong power will destroy everything in an instant." After all, the punch that Chi Yu once threw at him appeared in Beerus's mind, that punch that was devastating and seemed to swallow everything up. These days, Beerus has been helping Chi Yu transform destructive energy, and he has also seen with his own eyes that chi that is countless times larger than the universe. Under normal circumstances, Liu would never use chi when fighting. First of all, his physical body is strong enough. Relying on physical strength alone, there are very few people who are his opponents. Secondly, it may be that Chi Yu himself is also afraid of the chi in his body, so he has been deliberately hiding it. But today, he couldn't hide it. "It's up to me now." The dark man grinned grinningly and clenched his fists, posing in the same posture as Chi Yu, the must-kill series, continuous serious punching. The dark man's fists covered the sky, and with a power not weaker than Chi Yu's, he launched an attack on the original owner of the move. That fist kept falling on Chi Yu's body, triggering a new round of explosions. In a panic, Beerus yelled, "It's coming again, everyone hold on." The terrifying shock wave struck again, but this time it lasted longer. By the time the explosion stopped, even Son Goku and Vegeta in the Super Saiyan Blue God state almost lost their strength and turned into a common state. Vegeta gasped, "One more time, Kakarot and I will be overwhelmed." At this moment, Beerus suddenly laughed. Son Goku said, "Master Beerus. What are you laughing at?" Beerus said, "Looks like this guy finally pissed off Chi Yu." Right in front of their line of sight, Chi Yu's top has been beaten into universe dust and completely disappeared. The bald demon king looked down at his body, only to see a few tiny scars on it. A drop of blood flowed out from the wound, floating in front of Chi Yu. He stared straight at the drop of blood in front of him, without saying a word, expressionless. 033. The dark man withdrew his hands, because of the high temperature caused by friction, his fists were billowing with smoke. Even he himself couldn't help but be intoxicated by such a wonderful power. "It's so wonderful. Chi Yu. Didn't you expect that? Not only did I copy your body, but I also obtained a body that is stronger than yours." The dark man froze before finishing his words. At some point, Chi Yu had appeared in front of him and raised his fist to him. "You're making me bleed, you, go to hell." With Chi Yu's anger, the destructive energy in his body suddenly boiled. These energies are injected into every cell and meridian of him, making him faster and stronger. Right in front of the dark man, Chi Yu who suddenly appeared was burning with purple-black flames, like a terrifying demon god. Seeing Chi Yu in this state, Beerus's scalp went numb, and he hurriedly shouted, "Get back, stay away from them." Before Beerus reminded, Whis moved. He drives his own energy, retreats quickly at an unimaginable CCDE speed, in order to avoid the coming impact. At the same time, the dark man folded his arms, ready to take Chi Yu's angry blow. He thought he had overestimated Chi Yu's power, but when the huge power came from his hands, the dark man realized that his calculation was far from enough. Black's gods of destruction energy spilled out, washing the entire starry sky. Whether it is a meteorite, a planet, or even the huge sun, they were all vaporized in this blow. In the Milky Way, a large hole with a width of tens of light years appeared. There is nothing in this void, only a few lives beyond the ordinary, still alive. Beerus and Whis spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. In order to withstand Chi Yu's blow just now, even the two of them pushed forward. Son Goku and Vegeta were even bleeding from 7 holes, holding back their last ounce of strength, so as not to completely turn into fly ash. When they saw the big empty void, everyone was silent, not knowing how to describe what they saw. Especially Beerus, as gods of destruction, he never thought that there would be someone in his universe who is better at using destructive energy than himself. Looking seriously at the power of Chi Yu's punch, he was dumbstruck. The servant and teacher Whis comforted, "The universe always has geniuses. Although he has indeed surpassed you, Lord Beerus, you don't have to be discouraged. As a god with a big heart, you should be proud of having such a powerful warrior appear in your universe." Beerus sighed, "Stop talking, I understand this." At this moment, Son Goku suddenly shouted, "The dark man is not dead." Yes, the Dark Man is still alive. Beerus and others were hurt like this just by being affected, not to mention the Dark people who faced Chi-Yu directly. Both of his hands were broken, hanging limply on his shoulders, and there was a big hole in his chest. Chi-Yu's punch just now directly pierced his body. Even so, he is indeed alive. Whis couldn't help but marvel again. It's hard to imagine how he survived the blow just now. Beerus shook his head and said regretfully, "It should be the end of the battle. We should be glad that this guy is still alive after suffering such a serious injury. Anyone who can withstand such a blow will be admired in his heart." But as Beerus said, today's Dark people no longer have the capital to compete with extrusion. The Dark Man spat out a big puddle of blood, then lowered his hands and said, "Chi-Yu, I have to admit that you are truly the only warrior in the world. I am not your match." Chi-Yu snorted coldly, then prepared to die. Ha ha ha, the Dark Man opened his mouth full of blood, and laughed again. "Chi-Yu, I expected that I couldn't defeat you, but you can't kill me either. The next meeting may be many years later, I will always find a way to defeat you." After all, a time rift appeared behind him, gradually engulfing his figure. Son Goku shouted. No, his wife ran away. Beerus shook his head and said, "It's too late. He's already left this era." The Dark Man had been prepared for a long time, and when Chi-Yu made that punch, he guessed the result and activated the time ring in time. It is basically impossible to catch up with him now. Chi-Yu watched the back of the Dark Man fleeing, and snorted coldly, "You run very fast, but no matter where you run, you can't escape the result of death in the end." The Dark Human said, "Chi-Yu, what I have is not just your duplicate body. I have lived as Shenron for countless years and have endless knowledge. I will find a way." After speaking, the figure of the Dark Man has completely disappeared. Although they figured out the cause and effect of the incident, Chi-Yu and the others were indeed in vain. Chi-Yu turned around and shook his head. He ran away. "Let's go back first." Vegeta glanced at Zamasu, who was floating in the void, and asked, "What about this stupid backup Supreme Kai?" Chi-Yu said disdainfully, "I don't have time to care about the life and death of a grasshopper." Vegeta nodded, and then took out the time machine invented by Bulma, and took everyone back to the Earth a year ago. Although Chi-Yu defeated the Dark Man, everyone became worried when they saw the Dark Man's fighting power. Super Shenron's age may not be younger than Zeno, just as it said, this universe has no so-called secrets in its eyes. Messing with such an omniscient enemy who can freely travel through time and space is really hard to sleep. Seeing everyone coming back, Trunks and Zamasu ran up immediately. "How's the situation? Have you found the Dark Man? Did you kill him?" Beerus said impatiently. "Let him run away, go away, I'm very hurt and tired." Hearing Beerus's words, both Trunks and us were a little depressed. If even these 5 people can't take down the Dark Man, then the problem is really bigger. Tazy looked at the 2 tiny scars on Chi-Yu's upper body, and said distressedly, "Are you injured?" "What is he called injured? Big sister, look at the 4 of us, we were almost killed by the aftermath of their battle." Vegeta was speechless. Bulma patted Vegeta on the back and said, "Okay, don't be angry, Piccolo still has fairy beans." Vegeta snorted and stopped talking. Now that things have happened, we can only go back to the time when Trunks and Zamasu traveled through, and then fight to the death with the Dark Man. Otherwise, no one would know where the Dark Man was, and no matter how powerful the fighting power was, it would not be effective. So Chi-Yu looked at the 2 from the future and said, "You guys tell everyone about the future. The Dark people of the future world have already swept across the entire universe. At the time of crisis, Beerus and Whis sacrificed themselves and temporarily sealed the Dark people with Shelly's magic wave from Master Roshi. Throughout the endless years, Beerus has been the #1 powerhouse in the 7th universe, and Whis as a master may be even stronger than Beerus. In order to seal, the 2 super warriors almost exhausted their last ounces of energy, and barely sealed the Dark Man, buying time for everyone. At that time, the real Chi-Yu wandered around for a long time, and he couldn't find anyone for a while. Before the oil ran out, Beerus of the future era sent the 2 Trunks back to the past to find Chi-Yu's whereabouts. Trunks said, "The Dark Man is really too powerful. All of us together are no match for him. Everyone really has no choice, so I came back to find you, Chi-Yu uncle." Chi-Yu thought about it, and then continued, What kind of strength will the dark people of the future be? In the world of Dragon Ball, anyone can become stronger by practicing. The evil Super Shenron obtained Chi-Yu's body. If he seized the time to practice, he might go one step further. Trunks said, "We are not very clear about this. No one can pass a move in his hands, so we can't measure the depth of the Dark Man at all." In the timeline of Trunks and the others, Son Goku and Vegeta died very early, and they didn't even reach the Ultra Blue state. The only one who can fight a little is a Son Gohan with a broken arm. It's no wonder that he can fight the Dark Man. Chi-Yu said, "No matter what, you have to fight before you know. Everyone is seriously injured, let's rest for 2 days and then we will set off." Super Shenron's copy of himself is incomplete. Even if he cultivates for a period of time, the 8th floor will not be his opponent. Even if it wasn't for Taizi's sake, Chi-Yu couldn't bear the fact that someone exactly like herself existed in this world. It felt like I had been cloned by some mad scientist, and it was disgusting as hell. By the way, Chi-Yu suddenly remembered something, and said to Vegeta and Son Goku, "What are your plans for these few days?" Son Goku said, "Vegeta and I are going to practice in the Room of Time and Spirit. As far as this situation is concerned, their combat effectiveness is really low, basically useless. The Room of Time and Spirit can turn 2 days into a month. With their talents, they should also make great progress in this month. Everyone is practicing." Chi-Yu couldn't be idle either, he was busy having dinner with Taizi. "What? You say this is not doing business properly?" "Just kidding, is there anything more serious in this world than passing on the family line? How magnificent and great it is to pass down genetic information in the long river of life until the end of the world. Ah, I can't help but cry. Taizi, I have an ancestral chromosome to give to you, ahem." Of course Chi-Yu couldn't say that, so he changed to a relatively euphemistic expression, "Taizi. Marry me. People have to think about it." Taizi's face was very red, and she didn't know whether it was because of the candlelight on the dining table or because of shyness. 0. In the Room of Time and Spirit, Son Goku and Vegeta are practicing hard. From Frieza to Cell, Zanya people will come here to hold their feet every time they encounter an enemy they can't beat. At this time, Vegeta and Son Goku are fighting with full firepower. As perennial competitors, there is no more suitable opponent than each other. After bearing a heavy blow from Vegeta, Son Goku briefly stopped his hands, covered his stomach and sweated profusely. "Do you think we can defeat Chi-Yu's clone in this way?" Vegeta said, "Kakarot, when did you start looking forward and backward like this? Even if we can't win, we Saiyan can't be useless waste." Son Goku said with a smile, "As expected, it is Vegeta, let's see." After all, Son Goku attacked Vegeta again. 2 days later, Beerus came to the Earth again, and Son Goku and Vegeta also walked out of the Room of Time and Spirit. Beerus looked at Son Goku carefully and said, "It seems that you have achieved good results during this period of time. The chi on the 2 Saiyans has obviously grown a lot, which is not the same." Vegeta crossed his arms and said, "Everyone is here, where is Chi-Yu? What is he still dawdling about?" Whis covered his mouth and let out a laugh, and then said, "I advise you to wait patiently for him at this time, otherwise the bald devil will definitely beat you to scum, and his attack is definitely worse than the Dark Man." What Whis said was true, because at this moment Chi-Yu was saying goodbye to his fiancée. Taizi hooked her hands around Chi-Yu's neck, kissed his mouth, and said, "It's done, we'll get married when you come back." With the soft touch still remaining on his mouth, Chi-Yu touched his bald head and said, "Why does it feel like setting a flag?" "That's all. I will keep my promise. Be safe." "I know." After all, Chi-Yu walked like Vegeta and others, and the others had been waiting in front of the time machine for a long time. This time, Trunks and Zamasu also followed up. Except for Son Gohan, almost all the high-level combat personnel were present. Beerus asked Chi-Yu, "Are you ready?" Chi-Yu waved his hands impatiently, "Hurry up and leave, I'm in a hurry to get married." The Gods of Destruction planet of Baru, 717, was once a rich place, with luxurious castles, towering pyramids, and various lush plants. But today, 10 years later, there is nothing left of this land but ruins. Half of the entire planet was shattered, and the other half was scattered in the void, forming a dense belt of meteorites. The pyramid building that once lived in Beerus has completely disappeared, and the top of the mountain is bare, like Chiyu's head. You made my planet look like this. Super Shenron. Beerus cursed, and Zamasu pointed to the ruins of the castle and said, the container that seals the Dark Man is in the ruins of the castle. Following the direction of his finger, I saw a golden coffin standing on top of the ruins. There were already many cracks on the surface of the coffin, and it was still vibrating continuously. Straits of black's breath struggled and overflowed from the inside of the coffin, spreading in all directions in a ring shape. Zamasu said, this coffin was created by Whis, using the hardest material in the universe, but there is still no way to completely seal Zamasu. As soon as Zamasu's words fell, the whole planet began to shake, and a huge aura shot up from the coffin, forming a black beam of light. Not good. The Dark Man is coming out. Amidst the loud noise, the golden coffin turned into countless fragments, flying in all directions. Ha 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 ha. The Dark Man appeared, and he laughed wildly while bathing in the beam of light, breathing the free air to his heart's content. After a long time, he snorted coldly to Chiyu and his party. You are finally here, I have been waiting for 10 years. Beerus said angrily, you actually made the planet gods of destruction look like this, I can't forgive you. The Dark Man gave Beerus a disdainful look, and said, in this era, I have already seen your power, to be honest, it's not worth mentioning at all. Beerus gritted his teeth, what did you say? The Dark Man directly ignored the angry Beerus, he tore open his skirt, revealing the circular scar on his chest. Chiyu. Every night for the past 10 years, this wound on my chest has been aching. It reminds me all the time, to return to you 100-fold the pain you inflicted on me. Over the years, I cultivating crazily, dreaming of imagining the moment when he is about to defeat you. Today, I will completely tear up your invincible myth here. I will smash your body into pieces, and I will scatter your ashes in the void. It's stupid, why are you still fighting? Chiyu said blankly, I'm in a hurry to get back to get married. Can you stop talking so much nonsense? Asshole. The Dark Man was taken aback for a moment, and then suddenly let out an earth-shattering roar. Yes, that's it. This Chiyu, that arrogant Chiyu is worthy of my destruction. The power of the Dark Man soared again, the beam of light on his body almost penetrated the entire universe, and the turbulent breath made Beerus and others breathless. Vegeta gritted his teeth and said, how could this be? We have been cultivating in the House of Spirit and Time for so long, why is there such a big gap? Son Goku said, can such a powerful Chiyu defeat him? At this moment, the battle started. Super Ki Blast. As soon as the Dark Man stretched out his hand, a Ki Blast larger than the Super Spirit Bomb took shape in his hand, and flew towards Chiyu's position with a bang. This must be the most powerful Ki Blast in the history of Dragon Ball, the energy contained in it even surpassed hundreds of stars, making Beerus and others' scalps tingle. However, Chiyu just stretched out his right hand. Yes, he just stretched out a hand, and with a sudden grip, the Ki Blast instantly shattered. However, the figure of the Dark Man has been hiding behind Ki Blast, waiting for a long time. With the help of Ki Blast's vision blocking, he completes his surprise attack. Son Goku suddenly shouted, be careful. The speed of the Dark Man was extremely fast. Before Son Goku uttered the first word, his fist had already hit Chiyu's abdomen heavily. Rumble. After the violent explosion, Chiyu's body turned into a meteor, smashing several planets back and forth. But the Dark Man didn't stop there. His figure kept appearing in front of Chiyu and launched a crazy attack on Chiyu. The light spheres formed by the explosion spread continuously in the universe one after another. Seeing the power here, cold sweat has appeared on everyone's forehead. Even if Chiyu is extremely powerful, can he withstand such an attack? The Dark Man's attack lasted for more than 10 minutes before stopping. Even the copied Chiyu couldn't stand the continuous onslaught. He stood still in the void, and then gasped continuously. Chiyu's figure has disappeared, and in the entire starry sky, there are only countless planetary debris left. I won. The Dark Man asked softly, but in the dead universe, no one has answered his question. I won. I won. The Dark Man shouted excitedly, 10 years of hard work, day and night of practice. Until today, he finally wiped out his greatest enemy completely. From now on 5.8, no one in this world is his opponent. I finally defeated Chi Yu, I won, MN. However, at this moment, an indifferent voice came from his ear. Win Nima B. The dark man turned his head suddenly, and saw a fist blocking his vision. Boom! A more violent explosion than before erupted suddenly and spread rapidly. With the previous experience, Whis quickly manipulated the cane into a super defensive shield to avoid being affected by the battle. After a long time, the body of the dark man emerged from the explosion again. At this time, he was already in a state of distress, half of his face was smashed to pieces, and fresh red blood was flowing. The dark man covered his face and said, "Why, you can ignore my attack. Because you've become weaker. Before, you could still hurt me a little bit, but now you can't even hurt a single hair of mine." Chi Yu said lightly, with his hands behind his back. "Impossible." The dark man yelled. "I have been practicing hard for 10 years, I have mastered the method of using Qi, and I have also learned many fighting skills. I have become stronger, I have become a lot stronger." Chi Yu said, "No, I said that if you become weaker, you will become weaker, because it doesn't hurt at all when you hit me." Son Goku on the side couldn't help asking Whis next to him, "Has the dark man really become weaker?" Whis shook his head and said, "The dark man has not become weaker, on the contrary, he is much stronger than when he first appeared 10 years ago." Son Goku said, "Then why can't he do harm to Chi Yu?" At this time, Beerus stepped in and said coldly, "It's not that the dark man has become weaker, but Chi Yu has become stronger, but he didn't feel it himself. It stands to reason that any life has its own limits and shackles. 22 For example, it is impossible for human beings to reach a height of 3 meters, no matter how fast a cheetah runs, it is impossible to fly into the sky, and reptiles have never been able to evolve higher life forms. When a species comes to this world, the genes passed in the blood fundamentally determine the ceiling it can reach. Saiyan is a fighting nation, so they are born with extraordinary fighting talent, but there is a limit to this talent. Chi Yu is a different kind of existence who has unlocked all his own limiters, so his power is basically unlimited. When the Dark Man appeared for the first time 10 years ago, he was able to slightly injure Chi Yu's body. That was because Chi Yu's physical body judged that the Dark Man could not cause fundamental damage to himself. 10 years later, the power of the Dark Man increased several times, and he attacked Chi Yu again. At this time, the ability of One Punch Man is revealed. When the Dark Man's first punch hit Chi Yu felt pain and overwhelming, but when the second punch hit him, it was no longer so difficult to bear. Followed by successive attacks, every time the Dark Man hit Chi Yu felt a little more relaxed, and in the end, it was almost no different from a mosquito bite. That's why Chi Yu felt that the power of the Dark People was getting weaker and weaker. As everyone knows, it's not that the Dark Man has become weaker, but that his body has completely adapted to the attack of the Dark Man. Become stronger and more indestructible. In Chi Yu's invisible body, all the cells are rapidly mutating and evolving into a new life form. She still had the same bald head and the same lazy appearance, but Chi Yu's life level has fundamentally changed at this time. Although I don't know how Chi Yu became stronger, but his body was not so strong before, and he would definitely not be able to throw such a punch without using Chi. Beerus gritted his teeth and said, "What do you say that you hate the gifted dog the most? In fact, he is the most outrageous gifted dog in the universe. When he meets an enemy stronger than himself, he casually breaks through to a higher level while fighting. This is simply outrageous." In the empty universe, the Dark Man was muttering the same words as Beerus. "It's impossible, it doesn't make sense, it's simply outrageous. I have worked hard for 10 years, why? Why did you surpass me in less than a minute? Then what's the point of my efforts?" The Dark Man kept complaining as if he had lost his soul. But in many cases, fate is a sadist, and you can't help it. Chi Yu said, "Leave a last word. If you have nothing to say, I'll do it." The Dark Man didn't despair, he slowly cheered up and said, "Chi Yu, I really want to defeat you head-on, but now I have to admit that I can't do it. But even if my strength is lower than yours, I still have other ways to defeat you." After all, a tiny space crack appeared in the hands of the Dark Man. Beerus asked, "What is this? Hurry up, don't let him let this thing out." Whis suddenly yelled. The Angel family is an existence older than Beerus, and knows many things that even Beerus does not know. Since Whis is so nervous, the thing that the dark man is holding is definitely not trivial. Chi-Yu didn't want to be too big, so he swooped down and attacked the dark man. At this moment, the void crack in the dark man's hand suddenly enlarged, blocking Chi-Yu like a mirror. At this time, the Jade's attack could no longer be stopped. His body sank into the mirror without any hindrance and disappeared. The scene fell into a deathly silence, and Vegeta murmured, "Chi-Yu. Where did Chi-Yu go?" The mirror was closed in the hands of the dark man, and then turned into a small ball. The dark man held the small ball in his hand, landed on the ruins of Beerus's castle, and laughed again. "He has gone to another world now, in another era, and you will never see him again." Beerus grabbed Whis by the collar and snapped, "What the hell is that black ball?" "It's a space-time rift," Whis said. "Outside the universe, there are occasional rifts like this. They lead to another world, or another era. Once you fall into it, it's like being exiled from this world, and you can't find it again. There is no way back. The span of time and space is extremely wide. In other words, the current Chi-Yu may be in a new universe a million years ago, or it may be in the remains of a dead world 10 billion years later. Even if Chi-Yu's powerful strength allows him to survive there, it will be difficult for him to find a way to come back. In this way, Chi-Yu will be removed from this world, and there will no longer be a person named Chi-Yu in the Dragon Ball world." Whis pointed to the ball in the dark man's hand and said, "Break the ball in his hand, that is the door to another world. As long as you break the ball in the dark man's hand, Chi-Yu can find his way back. This is the only way." Trunks drew the Excalibur from behind, Son Goku and Vegeta turned into Super Blue Gods, and even Zamasu activated all his powers. "Idiots, with the strength of the Dark People, you are going to die," Vegeta said. "Death is better than waiting for death." After all, the four Super Warriors launched an attack on the Dark Man together. As Beerus said, although not complete, the Dark Man is a copy of Chi-Yu after all. With the fighting power of these few people, they are no match for the Dark Man at all. The Dark Man held the ball of time and space in one hand, and easily resolved all the attacks with the other hand. "Die to me. 1,000 blows in a flash operator. No one could clearly see the movements of the Dark Man, and almost at the same time, dense appeared on the bodies of the four of them at the same time. With only one left hand, the Dark Man punched countless punches on everyone in the blink of an eye. The four Super Warriors were covered in blood and flew upside down. Seeing this completely dishonest battle, Beerus was almost desperate. No matter how hard everyone tried, it was just useless. But the Dragon Ball Warriors did not give up. Son Goku let out a roar, and Red's arrogance erupted from his whole body. 10 times Kaioken. Under 10 times Kaioken, Son Goku's power skyrocketed rapidly, like a blood-red star shining in the universe. Vegeta wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and couldn't help admiring. As expected of Kakarot, he has surpassed his limit again. After all, Vegeta also burst out with more powerful energy than before, and even the blue flames in the Ultra Blue state appeared on Trunks. No matter how powerful the enemy is, people will never know what it means to admit defeat. They burn their souls and even their lives, break through themselves again and again, and then defeat more powerful enemies. Beerus looked at the people who were risking their lives, frowned and said, "Why, their attacks have no effect on the Dark People, why do they still fight like this?" At this time, Vegeta was hit by the Dark Man again, and just landed beside Beerus. Vegeta, covered in blood, grabbed Beerus by the neck and roared, "How long are you going to watch the show? Beerus, does that make sense? Don't talk about breaking the ball in his hands, you can't do it by connecting a meter around him." The veins on Vegeta's forehead popped out, and he looked at Beerus, as if seeing himself who had been cowed by Broly's strength. "You cowardly kobold," Vegeta roared, "how can a guy like you be the gods of destruction of the 7th universe? You who only dares to bully existences weaker than yourself." Vegeta is proud by nature and refuses to accept anyone. But all along, he has always been very respectful to Beerus, never daring to do anything offensive. Unexpectedly, today, like Chi-Yu, he would call Beerus a kobold, which stunned Beerus. "You just sit here and wait to die." With that said, Vegeta dropped Beerus's neck and joined the battle again. In the ruins of the castle on the planet Gods of Destruction, the Dark Man is pulling Son Goku's hair and kicking Goku's stomach hard. Before he could deliver a blow, Son Goku spat out a mouthful of blood. "Master Beerus, what are you going to do?" Beerus was silent, the light and shadow of the stars shone on his body, outlining a clear outline and silhouette. After a long time, Beerus raised his head. Fierce destructive energy erupted from his body, and Beerus roared, "I am the Gods of Destruction, Beerus of the Seventh Universe, the manager and destroyer of this world. Roar, what Dark Man? What Super Shenron? Let me all die. Vegeta, you fool, how dare you call me a kobold? After defeating the Dark Man, I will destroy the earth. Whis, give it to me." Whis put down the scepter, and said, "Yes, Master Beerus." The two of them burst out like purple-black stars, rushing towards the Dark Man. This was the first time in tens of thousands of years that Whis put down his cane and entered a fighting state. The fighting style of the Angel family is very light, and it is fundamentally different from Son Goku and others. In terms of breath, Whis is not as powerful as Beerus, but every ounce of his strength is used properly, which can be called perfection. No matter where they are placed, Beerus and Whis should be absolute powerhouses. But what they are facing is a more powerful Dark Man. "Get the hell out of here, M." The Dark Man let out a roar, and a torrential black halo rushed out in all directions. Everyone was swept away like mosquitoes in a storm. Beerus shouted, "Everyone work hard. He wants to protect the space-time ball in his hand, and he can't spare his hands to fight us." Son Goku in the 10 times Kaioken state gathered all his chi, and a red light ball shone in his hand. Final flash. Destroy Ki Blast. Trunks, Beerus, Vegeta, Whis, Zamasu. All of them unleashed their highest fighting power and radiated Ki Blast to the Dark Ones. A series of colorful beams of light suddenly appeared on the planet Gods of Destruction, and turned into a spherical Super Ki Blast, rushing towards the same target. However, a mocking look appeared on the Dark Man's face. "What Gods of Destruction? What Super Saiyan, that's all." The Dark Man stretched out his left hand, and the huge Ki Blast stopped right in front of his palm, unable to take a single step. Vegeta punched himself on the thigh, gritted his teeth and said, "Can't this work?" Son Goku said, "It's the only thing to use now." Vegeta was taken aback, "What that?" Son Goku said, "It's just a fit. Who wants to fuse with you, idiot?" Wataijutsu is the ultimate means of Son Goku and Vegeta, but Vegeta, as the party involved, has always hated this way of fighting. Beerus shouted, "Li Jiao, don't hesitate, what tricks do you have, use them quickly." Vegeta could only grit his teeth, then nodded and said, "Kakarot, I really don't want to experience this kind of encounter again, it's so good. If you want to come, hurry up." At this moment, a jet black light appeared on the hand of the Dark Man resisting the Ki Blast, and the gushing black light actually pushed against the Super Ki Blast, pushing it back. That is the gas gathered by everyone. Once swallowed by this ball of light, everyone will turn into a pile of universe dust in an instant. But at this moment, Son Goku and Vegeta put on a ridiculous pause. Seeing the light getting closer, Beerus couldn't help shouting angrily, "You two idiots, what are you doing?" Son Goku said, "Master Beerus, don't worry, it will be fine soon. Can you defeat the Dark Man with such a strange pose? Do you want to laugh the enemy to death? Find a way for me." Before Beerus's complaints were over, a soft blue halo came from the two of Son Goku. The figures of the two slowly overlapped, and then turned into a brand new warrior that Beerus had never seen before. His facial features have inherited Vegeta's fortitude and Son Goku's toughness, and his temperament is proud and innocent, like a collection of shields. However, Beerus and Whis both felt a little terrified by the enormous energy carried by this warrior, even approaching the level of the Dark Man. Beerus was stunned and said, What is this? This is the unique skill of Papa and Goku Uncle, Fusion Art, Super Blue Vegito. Future Trunks was very excited. Super Vegeta is the last resort of Dragon Ball warriors. All along, as long as Son Goku cooperates with Vegeta to use this move, no matter who the opponent is, he will only be beaten. That's why after seeing the Super Vegito, Trunks clenched his fist so excitedly and said, "Come on Dad, no empty version." Vegito appeared in front of the Super Ki Blast with an instant transmission, and then 370 launched its own unique Ki Blast. Finally, Kamehameha. The Super Blue Vegito's chi collided with the Dark Man's chi, unexpectedly pushing that super ki blast back slowly. Beerus and Whis hugged each other, bouncing and jumping, almost crying with joy. The Dark Man said, "I didn't expect that you still have some strength, but it's not enough." After all, the beam of light in the hands of the Dark Man surged up like a tsunami. Beerus looked at Whis, and immediately said, "Gather our chi and send it to Chaolin Vegito, now we can only place our hope on him." "Yes, Lord Beerus." Both Beerus and Whis stretched out their hands, transferring all their chi to Super Vegito's body. Immediately, Vegito, who was originally at a disadvantage, was radiant, and his strength increased crazily. Jia, King, Fist, 10 times. 20 times. 30 times. Chaolin Vegito squeezed out all his potential and shouted, 100 times. Super Realm, King, Fist. The bloody light covered the entire starry sky, and the burst of energy from Vegito gradually overwhelmed the Dark Man, swallowing the beam of light in the Dark Man's hand very quickly. Seeing that victory was just around the corner, Beerus and the others held their breath. Finally, the Dark Man threw away the space-time light ball in his hand and had to fight with 2 hands. The aura of the Dark Man broke out again, and the black light actually had an indissoluble fight with Kamehameha in the end. Whis said, "It's now." After saying that, Trunks flew towards the ball of time and space thrown by the Dark Man. As long as this ball is smashed, Chi-Yu can find his way home, and at that time, no matter how powerful the Dark Man is, it will be useless. Will the Dark Ones stand by and watch Chi-Yu be brought back? Of course not. At the critical moment, the Dark Man twisted his waist, kicked out a ball of light, and went straight to the flying Trunks. This ball of light is small in size, but it is indeed the ki blast of the Dark Man, with terrifying energy in it. With the ability of Bai Trunks, it is absolutely impossible to block it, and it is also impossible to avoid this ki blast. Trunks stood there dumbfounded, and when he was about to be killed by the ball of light, a figure knocked him away. This is none other than the reformed Damas. He stood in front of Trunks and shouted, "Trunks, come on." Zamasu. Zamasu embraced the ki blast with both hands, and refused to take a step back. Trunks could only watch helplessly as his friend's figure was completely swallowed up by ki blast, but he couldn't do anything. "Trunks, I will remember the time I spent with you. I will leave it to you, Trunks, save this universe." Trunks 1 CCDJ gritted his teeth, then moved forward with tears. The explosion of Zamasu and ki blast came from behind him, but he didn't have time to mourn for his friend, or even watch him go. Now, he must grasp the space-time ball that is close at hand. Just when Trunks was about to touch the ball of time and space, Super Blue Vegito finally exhausted his last ounce of strength and re-differentiated into Son Goku and Vegeta. The liberated Dark Man turned around and grabbed the Trunks who were about to succeed. At this time, Vegeta and Son Goku couldn't even maintain the Super Blue state, and changed back to the common form. Vegeta shouted anxiously, "Trunks, watch your back." Trunks accelerated crazily, and the space-time ball was within reach. His heart was beating nervously, time seemed to be stretched infinitely, 10 meters, 8 meters, 1 meter, 30 centimeters, 20 centimeters. However, his hand finally stopped at a place less than 1 centimeter away from the space-time ball. "That's it, little guy." The Dark Man arrives and grabs Trunks by the neck and lifts him up. No matter how much Trunks struggled, he couldn't get rid of the hands on his neck. Yes, as the Dark Man said, it's all over. Son Goku and Vegeta have used up all their ki, and Beerus and Whis have contributed all their energy to support Vegito. In a short period of time, it is impossible for everyone to recover their combat effectiveness. Zamasu was killed. Trunks got caught. Chi-Yu was exiled to an unknown time and space, and now they have lost all means of resistance. Beerus muttered, "Is it all over? I'm afraid I'm the first gods of destruction to die in battle in all universes." Whis said, "Master Beerus, I am honored to be able to work with you. Death is a terrible thing, but when death really comes, everyone's heart gradually calms down. No matter what, everyone fought hard. Only Vegeta was still staring at the Dark Man. As a father, he was about to watch his son get killed. Whoever is replaced, this is an unacceptable thing. Is there no way?" Vegeta yelled, "Is there really no other way?" Goku comforted, The Dark Man is indeed too powerful, and we are indeed no match for him. At this moment, there was a roar, and the entire universe suddenly began to shake the beams violently. Countless stars, countless galaxies, everything vibrated. The Dark Man stopped what he was doing, and Beerus and the others suddenly looked up, looking for the source of the vibration. What happened? Beerus said in shock. Whis looked at the still shaking starry sky and universe, widened his eyes and said, it seems to be. Beerus said angrily, what does it seem like? Tell me quickly. Whis said, it seems that someone is knocking on the door. As soon as Whis finished speaking, the second shock came again, and several planets were slowly disintegrated under the violent impact. Rumble. The huge planet exploded, and countless rubbles scattered everywhere, covering the sky and the sun, covering almost all the void in the surrounding space. Terrible shocks that even the universe itself can't bear. Boom. This time, everyone understood what Whis meant. This shock came from the outside of the entire universe, as if someone was violently attacking the outer shell of the universe. Boom boom boom. The vibration became stronger and stronger, and the frequency became faster and faster. The sun, moon and stars of the seventh universe were all shaken to pieces, but the shock was like the prelude to the end, and there was no intention of stopping at all. Click. At this moment, a crack suddenly appeared in the dark night sky, a crack that runs through the entire universe. Something is about to come. The Dark Man looked at the intact space-time ball in his hand, then looked at the cracks in the sky, and murmured, This is really outrageous. What the hell is this? Just when everyone was stupefied with fright, an arm passed through the void and emerged from the crack. That hand looked like the Earthlings in common, but it was burning with a white flame, which Beerus was all too familiar with. Once upon a time, he also faced this arm, and faced this terrifying flame of only white. When he saw Chi-Yu for the first time, when he swung a super serious punch at himself, there was such a flame wrapped around his body. This is Chi-Yu's most original power, and Beerus has always been afraid that he can't control it, so he made him a backup gods of destruction. Now, the imprisoned demon has been released. Click, click. There was another loud bang, and the second arm also passed through the barriers of the world, and appeared in the seventh universe. Those two flaming arms grabbed the two sides of the universe crack, tearing it hard. The seventh universe began to vibrate again, and the cracks in the universe spread in all directions like a spider web. Immediately afterwards, a shiny bald head emerged from the enlarged crack. Beerus opened his mouth with difficulty, and said softly, It's Chi-Yu, it's Master Chi-Yu. Not only Beerus and his party, but even the Dark Man has gone stupid at this moment. More than once, the ball of time and space in his hand has been left in the void, missing. Now, he finally understands that if Chi-Yu wants to return to this world, he doesn't need any space-time rift at all. There is no space-time rift, he will use his own hands to forcibly tear one across the entire space-time. It's like this. This is my last hole card. This is the second time that the Dark Man Chi-Yu has said such words today. But what was different from before was that the Dark Man Chi-Yu's eyes were full of despair at this time. Even after living for countless years, as a Super Shenron, he can't find any means to fight against such a terrifying monster. In the end, Chi-Yu's upper body pierced through the time-space rift, and roared to the entire starry sky, resounding heaven and earth. Blazing flames burned on top of his head, like phantom hair. In addition, his eyes, Zhong Ka's mouth, every pore of his body exudes terrifying flames. Dark Man, get out of here, I'm going to kill you. Countless stars and countless worlds were blown to ashes by Chi-Yu's roar. On this day, Beerus and the others finally saw how Chi-Yu let go of himself and fully displayed his strength. No. Impossible. The Dark Man was almost scared out, facing the Chi-Yu who was slowly approaching. He couldn't bear the thought of resisting at all. The Dark Man grabbed Trunks' neck and threatened, Don't come here, this is your friend's child, if you come here again, I will kill you. Boom. The words of the Dark Man did not finish. It can't be finished anymore. No one could clearly see how Chi-Yu made the move. When everyone reacted, the head of the Dark Man had disappeared. It turned out that Chi-Yu punched him in the head. The Dark Man who lost his life, the cold corpse floating in the void, became cold and dead almost instantly. Such a powerful Dark Man was actually killed by King Chi. This seems too childish, doesn't it? You must know that just now, Angel Whis, Beerus and others gathered together to attack, and they can only resist the Dark Man for a while. There is only one explanation for all this: Chi-Yu is really too strong. Swish. The figure of Chi-Yu appeared behind Trunks, then withdrew his power and turned into a common man again. His Hawaiian shirt has been ruined, revealing his hardcover upper body, and a pair of simple flip-flops underneath the board shorts. If you change the background to the streets of Common, anyone can see that this is just a sloppy old man on vacation enjoying the beach. But Beerus and others would never think so, because those dense space-time cracks still remain in the night sky, because those planetary debris are still floating around. Chi-Yu didn't look at the Dark Man's body anymore, but glanced around Zhou Dao. Wow. The whole universe has been beaten up like this. It seems that the battle between you and the Dark Man is quite fierce. You obviously did all of this, fool. Everyone roared. Compared to Chi-Yu, the damage done by the Dark Man to the 7th universe is completely negligible. Now there are almost no planets in the future 7th universe, and even the entire space-time has become dilapidated under the power of Chi-Yu, and may collapse at any time. Chi-Yu touched his bald head and said depressedly, "Impossible. I have carefully controlled my own strength, how could this happen?" Beerus held Chi-Yu's shoulders and shook them vigorously. Now the 7th universe has been completely destroyed. Think about it, the beaches and oceans are gone, all kinds of delicacies are gone, and even your favorite Tazy is gone. It's gone. That's a problem. Chi-Yu stroked his chin and said, "In this case, let's find the Super Dragon Ball." "Ah, are you still here? Chi-Yu, 10 years have passed since the appearance of the Dark Man, and the Super Dragon Ball should be able to make a wish again. More importantly, the previous evil Super Shenron should have become independent from the Super Dragon Ball, so it became Dark People. That is to say, the Dark Man is just a trace of evil thoughts born from the Super Shenron. The real Super Shenron will not disappear, so we can still use its power. If we gather all the Super Dragon Balls, then we can resummon a quote. The new Super Shenron. Whis took over the words. Chi-Yu snapped his fingers and said, "Correct." When everyone thought about it, they suddenly felt that what Chi-Yu said made a lot of sense. The Super Shenron has become a Dark Man, but the Dragon Ball is still there. In this case, what will be the new summoned by the Super Dragon Ball? Chi-Yu raised his fist and said, "Then keep fighting." Beerus looked at his universe which was on the verge of destruction, and finally sighed, "No way, we have no choice, unless Elder Zeno can show up." On the other side of the planet Gods of Destruction, Marth lay quietly on the ground. After helping Trunks block the fatal blow of the Dark Man, his body is broken and incomplete, like an old and discarded doll. The solar wind from the stellar explosion scraped the surface of the broken planet, picking up his hair and ragged clothes. "Trunks, is the Dark Man dead? My eyes are so dark. I can't see anything. It has been wiped out by Chi-Yu uncle. That would be wonderful." Trunks was silent for a while, and then said, "I'll take you back right away. We have fairy beans, and they will definitely cure you." "Why?" He. Zamasu laughed, then shook his head and said, "Don't waste your energy. I know I can't live anymore. Trunks, can you promise me one thing?" Trank nodded and said, "No matter what kind of wish you have, please tell me." A smile appeared on Zamasu's bloody face. "Then please promise me, don't use the Dragon Ball to revive me." Zamasu grew up in the Supreme Kai world, and since he was born, he was chosen as the heir by the old Supreme Kai. It can be said that Zamasu's life is to become Supreme Kai and bring prosperity to this universe. But not only did he fail to do all this, but he brought unprecedented catastrophe to the world. People are slaves to their thoughts. In this vast world, there is nothing more terrifying than the collapse of values. Zamasu subverts Supreme Kai's duties, like a money worshipper who loses money, like an idealist who loses his way to self-realization. The old Supreme Kai once said that Zamasu is actually a good man, he is just blinded by his own too strong sense of justice, so he is often cynical. If he can wake up, he will definitely become a very competent Supreme Kai. But that day came too late. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. I want to clear myself of my sins this way. Then I promise you." Zamasu laughed, amused and hearty. "Trunks, I want to make a pot of tea for you, and let you taste whether my tea is as clean and pure as before, without any impurities. But I can't do it anymore. Zamasu stretched out his only arm, tore off the clothes that should have belonged to Supreme Kai, and then lost the breath of life. Trunks wiped his tears, then knelt down on one knee, put the sword in his hand beside Zamasu and said, "May your purity and courage be like this sword, always sharp and never corrupt." After saying that, Trunks flew in the direction of Chi-Yu and the others. Broken planet, broken world. Under the distant brilliance and high wind, Zamasu's body, together with the sword, remained forever on the damaged Gods of Destruction star. Vegeta carries the Super Dragon Ball radar with him. Coupled with Whis' super high-speed navigation ability, it is not difficult to find the Dragon Ball. In one afternoon, they collected the Super Dragon Ball again and summoned Shenron. The appearance of Super Shenron has not changed at all, but it does not have the evil spirit of 10 years ago. It looks sacred and solemn. Whis closed his eyes to perceive for a while, and then said, "The breath has changed, Chi-Yu is right, the current Super Shenron is no longer the original one." Shenron opened his huge mouth and said, "Please state your wishes." Whis said, "Then please restore everything here to its original state. Including the dead and all kinds of lives, can you do it?" "Wait." At this time, Trunks stood up and said to Whis, "Tell it, just restore everything in this era to its original state." Chi-Yu was a little surprised. What about Zamasu? Zamasu has time-traveled many times. From the first time he used the time ring to a year later, his time was misplaced. Strictly speaking, Zamasu is not a person of this era. If he makes a wish like this, he cannot be resurrected. Trunks laughed happily, and said, "Zamasu has fulfilled his own wish, there is no need for it." Chi-Yu nodded meaningfully and said, "Trunks, you have grown up." Whis, just follow what he said to make a wish. After everything was over, Chi-Yu's obscenity had penetrated into the hearts of the people, and even Whis didn't dare to refute his words. So according to Trunks' request, Whis asked Shenron to restore everything in this era to its original state. "As you wish." 0.2 The Super Shenron spewed out a dazzling white radiance, which spread to every corner of the universe, repairing the scars everywhere. The damaged planet returned to its original state, and the cracks in time and space slowly healed. In a blink of an eye, lush grass fields and towering trees grew on the planet Gods of Destruction. Vegeta said, "By the way, Trunks, where is your sword?" Trunks said, "Give it to a friend." Vegeta asked suspiciously, "Except for a few of us, there are no living people in the entire 7th universe. Where did you get your friends from?" Just when Trunks was thinking about how to answer his father's question, Chi-Yu popped up again and said, "Tragedy Tower. You can find a wife like this, I'm so freaked out." I said, "Don't call me Tragedy Tower. Good Tragedy Tower." Seeing that the two were about to get serious again, Whis could only laugh dryly. "Everything is over, let's go back earlier, this time we can let Bulma hold a grand celebration banquet." When it came to food, Beerus was the first to get excited and said, "Yes, everyone, hurry up, otherwise the grilled octopus will be cold. By the way, Lord Beerus." Whis turned to look at the castle on the planet Gods of Destruction and said, "Aren't you going to see his mother?" Beerus closed his eyes and said, "No, there's no need, this is not our territory, everyone should go." Vegeta had already taken out the time machine and sat on it one by one. Before leaving, Beerus took another look at the high castle, where there was a person who looked exactly like Beerus standing at the window and staring. The two eras of Beerus nodded to each other, and said goodbye. No one in the world can understand themselves better than themselves. Although they haven't said a word, they can clearly understand each other's thoughts. 22. Until the time machine disappears on the planet Gods of Destruction. Beerus of this era turned away from the window and walked into his bedroom. Whis said, "Looks like thanks to Chi-Yu, we have all been resurrected successfully." Beerus slumped on his chair and said, "Thanks to him. If he hadn't killed the Super Shenron, how could there have been so many troubles? It's exhausting, I almost became the first one in the entire universe to die in battle Gods of Destruction. If it gets out, Champa will laugh at me to death." Whis covered his mouth, let out a laugh, and then said, "Master Beerus is really arrogant." "Shut up, you idiot." Beerus cursed, then looked out the window where everyone disappeared, and said, "Actually, we should be lucky, at least we don't have Chi-Yu here. Thinking about what he did in the past I was in a panic." Chi-Yu is the new gods of destruction anyway. If he finds out about scolding him like this, the consequences will be very serious. What about the new gods of destruction? Back in the day, I fought against him anyway. Really, if this guy hadn't traveled to other worlds, how could we have ended up like this? After coming back from the future, Chi-Yu and Taezi's wedding is a matter of course. Originally, Chi-Yu didn't want to make a big splash, but he married the daughter of the richest man in the world. The wedding was prepared by the Bree couple, and it was surprisingly grand, and a lot of celebrities were invited. After taking the oath, Dr. Bree wept and handed her daughter's hand to Chi-Yu's, saying, "Taezi will be counting on you from now on. My daughter will finally stop wandering." "That's great. It's really great. Woo woo woo. Father, don't cry, it's a shame." Taezi said so on her lips, but in fact she also contained tears in her eyes. According to the custom, Chi-Yu puts a ring on Taezi, and the wedding is considered complete. After that, greeting guests and friends, I was busy until late at night, and Squeeze and Tas finally got rid of this torture. After all, Taezi is a common person. At this time, she was so tired that she collapsed on the bed, motionless. The two's wedding room was set up at the top of the Breeze mansion, and the large and soft mattresses faced the balcony. Looking out from here, the sea is reflected in the stars. The summer breeze had just cooled, slipped in through the swaying curtains, and filled the room with the smell of the sea. "That's great," Taezi said, and then added, "I will be your wife from now on." Chi-Yu also laughed, then pulled her up from the bed and took her to the balcony. Taezi asked, "What are you doing?" "I'll show you the meteor shower." "Nonsense, 4 years until the next meteor shower." Taezi is the daughter of Bree, a standard scientific young woman, and she knows a lot about this kind of thing. But Chi-Yu is very confident. "If you don't believe me, let's make a bet." Taezi snuggled into Chi-Yu's arms and said, "Don't worry, from now on, I'll give you whatever you want. As long as it's what I have." Chi-Yu never thought that Taezi could say such love words, and even he was a little moved for a while, so he snapped his fingers at the starry sky and began to summon gifts for the bride. So the meteor shower came, and the brilliant white light was inexhaustible, illuminating the night sky like daytime. When she was young, Taezi and Bulma often used Dr. Bree's astronomical telescope to look at the stars, but never saw such a large-scale meteor shower with such brilliant and beautiful meteors. Taezi stared at her beautiful eyes and said in disbelief, "How could there really be a meteor shower?" "I said there is." Chi-Yu supported her chin, then gently took off her snow-white wedding dress, and began to exercise the rites that the groom has. "Why are there meteor showers?" "That's a really good question." In the distant sky, Beerus, Vegeta and Son Goku are hard at work launching Ki Blast. Those beams of light are the origin of the meteor shower. "Why do I, gods of destruction, ask 647 to do this kind of thing? Why does my handsome Saiyan prince come to do such a thing?" Son Goku said, "Everyone stop complaining, it's just an agreement to do Master Chi-Yu a favor. If you complain any more, Bulma will get angry." At this time, Bulma was driving the spaceship and hovering beside the three of them, holding a big horn in his hand, directing the actions of Beerus and others. "Beerus, your angle is off. This is my lovely old sister's romantic wedding. If you screw it up, don't even think about coming to my place for delicious food." Beerus wanted to cry, but if he had done it before, he would blow up the earth now. But as the saying goes, people are soft but hands are short, and Bulma has been with Bulma for a long time, and we have experienced so many things together, it is hard to say that you can turn your back on it. Besides, Bulma is now the younger sister of Chi-Yu, the big bald devil king. If she really gets into trouble, she will definitely be the one who is unlucky. Beerus gritted his teeth, and fired Ki Blast harder. Inside Bulma's spaceship, Whis, who was eating ice cream, was shocked suddenly, then put down the food in his hand and said, "Master Beerus, you just received an order from Zeno." Thanks for watching, please subscribe and support my channel.